Welcome to Now for Someone Completely Interesting. I'm your host, Ben Poulin. The list is long when it comes to family members as potential guests for this show. And while I have had cousins come on the podcast, I've been reluctant to ask immediate family members. Maybe the other members would be offended and get jealous, or maybe they'll divulge information that would embarrass me. All excuses aside, I've decided it's time. Being the youngest of 5, I had the pleasure of being looked after and picked on mercilessly by 4 older siblings. With a 10-year age gap, I often looked up to and admired my only brother. We had 3 sisters in between us, but also found myself pinned down as he farted on my head. My guest, now for someone completely interesting, he ain't heavy unless he's sitting on you. He's my brother, Tim Poulin.
Oh, that's a wonderful introduction. Thank you.
And thanks for the Cuban cigar.
Yeah,
I know.
Here, let's light
All right.
these up right away.
Okay.
Go first.
I'll see if I can.
I got these at the. I'll do a plug here.
Okay.
At the Lighthouse in Bonneville. Very good cigar shop. It actually is pretty good. You should see that. What is those called? Humidifiers or humidors?
Mm-hmm.
Humidors. Quite something. I gotta like this too. See if I can get it first try. I feel like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I know. I do it. The most I learned about Arnold was growing up and reading. You had all his books because, believe it or not, despite what the pictures will show on social media here, you were into a little bit of physical fitness at one point in your teenagers.
Well,
This is another first for me. I've never had a cigar on the podcast.
You should listen to Joe Rogan's podcast.
There's all kinds of smoking. So, okay, let's get into it here. Let's build a little bit of context here. Let's let people get to know you. So, I'm the youngest, you're the oldest. We have 2 very different perspectives growing up basically in the same household. From day one, my family was the same as it always was, but for you being the oldest, it changed over the years with additions coming in and out. So, what was your perspective growing up as the oldest of 5 compared to what mine would have been as the youngest of 5?
Well, I had to babysit and do all the work. And you know what? It was okay, I guess. Helps on moving day, right? I have lots of siblings. I've moved a lot.
And a big move coming up, I guess?
Yes. This fall, sometimes I don't have a set date, but I'll be moving to Australia.
All right. We'll find out more about that.
First with the cigars, though.
Okay.
I want to propose a toast to Bill Clinton. So let's get a little political here, right? I often think about old Bill when I smoke a cigar.
See, this could go in a variety of ways. What makes Tim interesting is sometimes how he deflects, or can we talk about more personal things? I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so I asked you, what do you want to talk about? What did you tell me when you texted me?
Well, of course, I said politics, religion, and, the Budweiser scandal, of course.
You said marketing.
Marketing. Well, okay, marketing scandal. They lost a lot of money.
Light, fluffy topics. What was the other one? If there was a biopic you were proposing?
Yeah. Let's
No?
not go there.
Okay. Oh, so you do have a filter.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Were you ever, I guess, being at one point the one and only, and then one of a few, and then all of a sudden there's 3 younger siblings because there's a little bit of a gap between you and Melanie and then the rest of us. Were you ever a little bit put out, or did you ever feel, yeah?
See, my parents, well, your parents too, they always said, okay, we're going to take you to Disneyland when the little ones are old enough. And I'm still fucking waiting. I've never been to Disneyland.
And unfortunately, time has passed, and our parents will no longer take us. I don't know. Well, maybe we can, with our inheritance, take ourselves for a trip. We did the once for your 50th, but that was only to Vancouver.
Yeah,
So.
I have no desire to go to Disneyland anymore. I understand now.
Okay, get into a little bit about growing up in Elk Point. You were maybe more academic than the rest of us. You're the only one in the family with a university degree. Talk about where you were, like, what was your direction? Because you did go to university, you got a Bachelor of Science.
Mm-hmm.
What was your goals at that time going into that?
Well,
And what changed?
I wanted to become a dentist.
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't as academic as I thought it was. I guess there was a lot of drinking to do, and things like that. And,
It was harder to get into dentist school, or
yeah, I did okay on the tests and stuff, but there was something you had to do. You had to carve chalk. And basically, I think dentists are kind of artists, and
Okay.
I'm not an artist, but I didn't know that.
right?
And then you had to carve a piece of chalk, believe it or not, with an X-Acto knife, and they give you weird, but apparently you got to know that stuff. And
Oh wow.
so that was gone, and then I actually went with some buddies of mine to Australia, kind of halfway through,
hmm
and then I went and got married, and well, we all know how that turned out.
Well, no, we don't. We do,
Yeah.
but people listening might not. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, that only lasts.
Do you want to talk about the marriages?
Oh yeah. Well, sometimes you make rash decisions. You get married, and it's no big deal. Nobody's held a gun to my head, so I accept my responsibilities.
Well, do you want to
Four of
talk?
them?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
let's talk about your kids for a little bit.
okay. Well, Julian, she's a teacher now. She's living in England, and actually, she's going to get married.
Mhm.
Well, possibly in 2024, but apparently finding a castle there to get married in is a little difficult, and pricey. So that may be put on hold. I don't know.
Okay, but that's the plan.
That's the plan. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, she wants to get married in a fancy place, and then Emma and Ronan and Luke. Well, they're Emma's going to university, and Luke's joining her this fall, and
hmm
Ronan's going to go live with some buddies of his in Bonneville here, and he's going to stay here, and yeah, so
Okay.
they're all moving along.
You took a break halfway through university to go to Australia when you were early 20s. What was your experience with that?
Oh, it was nice. I always wanted to go back, but just never had a reason. And then I was playing online Scrabble one day, and this wonderful lady down there started talking to me and asking me lots of questions, and then we talk more and then more and more. Nothing unusual, because they have little chat
Yeah.
places on those online games that. So we were just talking about time and stuff. So yeah, I was down there. She said, "Well, you should come back." I said, "Oh, I'm pretty forward." And then yeah, we just kept talking and talking, and then eventually I went there. But I was gonna go, but then COVID hit.
Right.
So we had never met each other, till last year, actually, like personally, but we knew each other very well.
Right.
So it's not really online dating. That's not always the best thing, but
Yeah, it
but it
wouldn't.
was more of a random meet.
Yeah, it wouldn't classify except the fact that you still met online.
Yeah, technically, yeah. People give Facebook a lot of shit, but if it wasn't for Facebook, and they have a really good video chat, right? So
To stay in touch, you mean?
yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
for 3 years now, we've talked every day. So
hmm
I've been there 3 times since.
Yeah, and the last time was the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So that, how many weddings is that now?
Well, that's 3 for me. I always said if I was never going to do it, I was only going to do it 3 times. So this is it.
And they say the first two can be the toughest, right?
The first 2 are the toughest, yeah.
I don't know if I should be saying that. Monique's sitting over there, and we're still on number 1.
Well,
So,
the odds in your favor now.
well, yeah, 21 years. Okay, so we wanted to talk politics. Let's go to politics, because you were always a big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan in your early years, and then lo and behold, he got into politics. What's your fascination with politics, or what's your interest in politics? I guess.
Oh, I hate them.
I know, but you love to talk about them and stir the pot. Everyone
Well-
says you shouldn't talk politics, and your motto is, "Of course you should."
Well, yeah. I mean, it's no secret that politics here are a mess, and it's just as fucked up in Australia too. And then you realize that it's the whole world. I think once you accept that politicians are almost, if they're not, they will become criminals. And once you accept that fact, it all makes sense.
Somebody once said you're voting for which corruption do you support the most, or which corruption are you okay with?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So you mentioned Bill Clinton, we mentioned Arnold. Any other particular politicians that you're a fan or not a fan of that would like to tie into? Or?
You know what? I almost don't care. You know what? The good ones. So remember that fellow? He's from the Shark Tank, O'Reilly or O'Leary or Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah.
Remember he was going to run for,
Mhm.
and then looked pretty good. I think a lot of people liked him. He'd been a good business minded. Well, he just dropped out. And what I think it is that everybody has skeletons in their closet, and he doesn't want his shit aired because, sure enough, it would ruin him.
Would you ever run for politics?
No, I don't have enough money. You need a lot of money.
Yeah.
To run for politics.
Because I think even skeletons in your closet, you wouldn't give a shit.
No, but people have to like you.
Yeah. Aren't you like?
I tried politics at Oak Point a little bit with minor hockey, and that's minor politics. But my God, if you want to, you can't please anybody. So you just try to please the kids, and it's a challenging thing. I don't know how guys like Doug stay with it, but he does.
Yeah, and of course, mentioning Doug Bassett, who's been on the podcast. Check it out on one of the episodes. There, we'll find it. Well, you played minor hockey growing up. Did you ever have aspirations of playing at a higher level?
But we had to use these wooden sticks. If we would have had these composite sticks, I would have been in the NHL. But we didn't have those kind of sticks in it.
My excuse is I don't like the extensive travel. I like to travel once in a while, but to have to always be on an airplane, I mean, it would just wear you down. I couldn't do it, so that's why I opted out of the. Yeah.
That's no joke. That probably is pretty hard.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So we're sitting here with the garage door open, and there's people walking by and dogs barking. So if anyone's wondering, that's what you're hearing. I don't live in the hood.
No, well, yeah, the Bonneville hood. With taking your kids through minor hockey, minor sports, and stuff like that, what were some of the I guess the highlights?
They dropped out. Like they were doing okay and stuff, and then I think they just saw it for what it was, just a parent fight all the time. So they just had enough and decided, we're going to do other things. And so Luke does jiu-jitsu now, and Ronan, he's always been a good boxer, mostly like a street fighter, I guess, but nothing really organized since. And the two girls they were kind of allergic to sports, but actually Jillian is a I don't know, did they call them cricketers?
Oh, I don't know.
Score that game, and apparently you don't know what the score is until the end. So it's a strange game.
Yeah. Well, she's her husband. Well, they're both teachers.
Yeah.
Or her fiance, I should say, Tyler.
Yeah.
Or as her brother-in-law Dean called him the one time he met was Twyla. But he's more phys ed oriented and sports oriented too. So
he still plays cricket. She scores those games, and I think she takes care of some girls' teams now. And they didn't believe a Canadian could actually score keep score the game. So
we catch on quick though, right?
So, we're smart monkeys. No monkeys.
Is it a Canadian thing or is it the Poulin thing?
I don't know.
Well, you were really into fitness. Like, what happened?
You're the second person who calls me fat today.
So, that seems low. Sorry.
Well, I like to eat.
Yeah.
And I drive a truck and for a living. And you know what? You only got so many heartbeats. And if you waste them all exercising and running and stuff,
The theory is you'll gain more by doing that.
Yeah, that's right.
But there is a discipline to it, like to get to where you have.
If you get out of practice, you're done. If you break the habit, you're done.
Yeah.
And then trying to get back in the habit is. And there's only a few habits I can keep, but we can't talk about those on the podcast, I guess.
Okay, we touched on politics. How about religion? Where do you want to go with that? Or was that just a joke?
That was just a joke. I really don't know much about religion anymore.
What else did you want to bring to the table then?
We got this Corona beer.
Okay.
You mentioned about the Budweiser marketing, and I thought we're probably just waiting for Corona to come out with their marketing. I was thinking like a Mexican dude with a big sombrero on and big mustaches and big titties, right? I think it would sell just as an opposing.
I actually, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Corona is distributed by Budweiser.
Oh, probably they all.
Well, I mean, there's I think about 2 or 3 major beer conglomerates that distribute. Budweiser's got at least a dozen brands under their, if not more, under their umbrella.
Yeah, I don't really drink anymore. You remember when we were younger and I used to come home and get drunk and beat the shit out of
Yes, I do.
you? Yeah.
That
I don't do that anymore.
I wasn't making that up in the intro. You actually did, with being 10 years older than me. So when I was about 6 or 7 years old, you'd pin me down and fart on my head.
Yeah.
Always had one in the chamber or two.
Of course. Of course. Yeah, cabbage.
What what motivated you to do that to your little brother? You're supposed to be the big brother, the protector, and you're...
Oh, I'm a button pusher. I'm a habitual button pusher. So if you have a button, I can't help it. And you would get really easily upset. So it was just fun. I didn't hurt you or anything.
I pulled a knife on you once.
I don't remember that.
I do. It never went very far because I was still, like I said, quite easily managed. But yeah, that's when you know you maybe have gone too far.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do remember the one time I brought a cigar home and you wanted to smoke a cigar. You wanted to smoke a cigar, and so you took a little puff and blew it out. Oh yeah, you were 8 years old. You said, oh yeah, I'm gonna smoke when I grow up. And I said, well, but BJ, you're doing it wrong. He said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, when you take a puff, you gotta just breathe it in as hard as you can, and it'll feel like you're flying like a bird. Like you'll think you're a bird. So you did.
I can actually clearly remember that, and coughing with tears and snot and phlegm coming out of my...
And I said, so you still want to smoke cigars when you get older?
No! and here we are, 30 years later.
Yeah.
More than that.
Yeah, so.
Okay, university didn't pan out. University, you finished your Bachelor of Science. The dentistry path didn't pan out. You went into, basically the majority of your career is spent behind the wheel of a semi.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it was supposed to be just a summer job, and then you know what happens is you go to college, and this happens a lot of guys. I know guys with who are actually teachers and whatever else, and they drive trucks and do oil patch because it just pays more when you're starting out.
It's and yeah,
but then you get trapped. Then you're older and you wish you would have done something else, but now here you are.
Is it something you enjoyed to some extent though?
Well, yeah, I do like it.
Like you wouldn't do it if you didn't like it.
I do like it. It was my dream. Uncle Marshall used to always, he'd deliver to the bakery and bring flour. And I always wanted to look inside the big trucks and all that kind of thing. And so yeah, there was always an interest in doing it. And yeah, you just like them. Just like driving.
Mm-hmm. So, because you've done a bit of both, where you're, and I've had my taste of the oil patch too, where you can work, kind of close to home, and it's short jaunts, and it's a lot of jump from lease to lease type of jobs, versus what you're doing now, which is pick up a load in who knows where, Fort McMurray down to Hardisty. Yeah. Do you prefer the long haul, or do you prefer like being in and out of the truck?
No, I prefer the long haul. Like that's probably eventually I get bored of that too. And, it's just where.
Is that what you're planning on doing when you move to Australia?
No, I think I'll go down there maybe sell Harley Davidsons or something. Okay. There's a store there where I'm going to live.
You've owned one Harley in your life, and now you're an expert at.
No, but I like them. They're pretty bikes, and I'd like to sell them.
That and the fact, if you did have to drive a truck in Australia, you'd have to figure out how to do it from the other side of the cab.
Yeah, that'd be a little different.
Is there any stories from your time of driving truck and maybe in the oil patch that kind of stick out? That any incidences or anything that were?
Well, do you remember Norbert? Called him Knob.
Yes.
Anyways, I won't say his last name. Those who know him. This one time, that he can. We were tank cleaning and pull up on lease, and I'm driving the price truck. He's driving the Trivac, and he's not getting out of the truck. Like, well, what's Norbert up to? So I just jump in the passenger door, and there he is. He has a clipboard. Oh, he's cutting up weed. And so, jeez, he was kind of startled. He didn't even realize I was there, and so he lights it up, and I said, "Oh, give me some of that." So Yeah, he said, this is really powerful stuff. I don't, you don't smoke this, so I don't know if you should. I was like, oh, come on, it can't be that bad. Well, holy shit. I mean, I enjoyed it, but not because, yeah, I just kind of had to sit there for an hour. But, gotta have an old whiskey, right?
Is that what you guys called it?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's probably my best story.
I thought somebody said one time you drove on lease with your ass hanging out a window mooning someone as you were.
I don't think I'm that physically capable. Wasn't me.
Just an ass that looked like you.
I guess so.
First time you went to Australia, what were some of the highlights?
Oh, well, we drank a lot of beer.
Well, you went with some high school buddies.
Yeah. Hung out with them for a bit, and then, I don't know, they wanted to stay and pick tomatoes, and I said, no, I'm not a migrant worker. I'm not doing that. And plus, there's like snakes in the tomato patch, and those brown snakes, and I thought, no, I'm not doing that. So I just had whatever money I had left. I just, traveled as far as I could. Climbed Ayers Rock. Well, it's not called that anymore, and you can't climb it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a unique thing to have as something you've experienced, so that people can't.
A lot of people from there have never been there, so.
Yeah. You did have some jobs there, though.
Yeah, I worked for a week at a place called SeaWorld, which is, I think they have them in Florida and whatnot.
Right.
But I can't smile that much. Like, you gotta be nice. Running the rides.
Oh, yeah.
Like a carny.
I've never seen one smile in my life.
I know, but you feel you have to, and I couldn't.
You probably need a few more tattoos, or
it was just like paid $7 an hour, and I was.
That's good money for 1991.
Yeah, but I was drinking more than I made. Right? They had this really cool bar there called Cocktails and Dreams, just like that Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah.
And the bartenders would flip the bottles and all that shit. So I spent a lot of time there.
Checking out the bartenders?
Yeah, some of them, yeah. They were equal opportunity back then.
Drink a lot of Bud Light then too, or?
I don't know, whatever. 4X. That's a brand of beer.
Right. The only one I know is Foster's Lager. That's because of the Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
Based on that movie, there's a lot of the more of the outback. You mentioned Ayers Rock. Was there anything else like wild Central Australia that you would experience that kind of stood out? Like, did you ever go anywhere like?
When I was there, this is back when I was a good Catholic boy, and I walked into the church in Alice Springs, which is the town right next to Ayers Rock, and there was a priest in there, and he had worked in Frog Lake.
Oh wow!
Yeah, of all places. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
like
I can't remember his name.
I didn't know that. You never told that story before. See, we learn something new all the time. What else can you teach me that I don't know?
Probably lost.
There's a loaded question. Okay, so you're going back. You haven't quite figured out when you're going back there. So
this fall, yeah.
You've traveled there now with your new relationship, your new marriage there a couple times there. But what are some of the experiences? Is there some different experiences, some different areas you've gotten to see there?
No, I mean we just living life when I'm there, basically. Yeah, it's just nicer weather overall. Like what we're having right now is kind of a lot of winter days like this.
Right.
So it's.
Is that the main draw? Like to go to? I mean, obviously because you have a wife there now.
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier like you always wanted to go back. Like.
Oh, yeah, it was like what I remembered. Nice. It was nice culture down there, and just kind of not a rough and tumble place, but a little more on the edge. And now it's basically just like Canada. They have the same problems as here, all watered down with liberalism and you just can't escape that anywhere in the world now. Political correctness, and
Yeah.
It's become that as well. But the landscape is still the same.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, you put politics and religion aside and you can just enjoy what's around.
yeah, there's 5 minutes to 3 different beaches, and yeah, it's so nice. I'm tired of winter.
Yeah.
I've been a winter for. I'm 53 years of old, and I don't want to have winter anymore.
So you going to learn to surf or something there? Or?
I'm too fat.
So you don't need a life jacket. Buoyancy is real when you have a few extra pounds.
I don't know if you remember at Melissa's house, her nephew Hank had this hoverboard thing.
Oh,
and something kind of similar to surfing. And I said, "Oh, I want to try that." I said, "No, Uncle, you can't try that." I said, "Come on, man, how hard can it be, Uncle? You don't want to try that. Okay, whatever you do, don't jump off it. Step off it with one foot." Well, that's the reason they say that is because instinctually you just want to jump off it when you've had enough. Well, then what happens is those whatever I don't know if it's gyroscope or accelerometers in there or whatever. They figure, okay, you want to go fast. Boom, that thing goes right out from under your feet and right on my back.
I don't think
and then as well, I mean, the good part about it was that I got a prescription with some opiates. Right? Now, the important thing to remember when you get a prescription is to save some for when you're feeling better. Right? That's the important thing.
The brotherly advice that I've had over the years. I'm glad everyone else. Yeah. This okay. Now, you've actually been a very loyal listener to this podcast. Thank you for that, because it pads my stats, and maybe one day I'll get paid for doing this.
Oh, is that how that works? I'll listen more often.
Yeah.
I will only listen to the interesting people.
Okay. Which was everybody, right?
But I digress.
All right. So, last question here. This is now for someone completely interesting. You have now been given that title amongst many. But if you had to pick someone as someone you find completely interesting that you would recommend for this podcast, who would that be?
Well, that is a loaded question. Someone completely interesting that I would recommend. You worked at ECAN, right?
For a summer.
You remember Walter Zarowski?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that would be an interesting guy.
I wouldn't have to ask questions. I'd have to flick the mic on and say, go. That guy has material. I still, some of the best jokes to this day I tell are Walt Zarowski jokes. Absolutely. Great choice. I think he finally retired.
Did he? I don't know.
Well, from both ECAN and he had his little store in Glendon, Poacher's Corner, which was a hunting store, of course. That might be an insight to his sense of humor. So, yeah, I'd have to try to track him down because, that would be a great suggestion. So, okay, my guest once again, my one and only big brother, Tim Poulin. Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please give us a like and subscribe through your favorite podcast provider. And don't forget to follow us on social media. You can find us by searching Poulin Radio, or now for someone completely interesting. Once again, my guest, Tim Poulin.
Thank you very much.